You're not lost. You are overloaded, overstimulated, over-identified with things that no longer matter. Your problem is not lack of potential. It is excess identity, excess comfort, excess noise. This audiobook is not about motivation. It is about subtraction. We're going to remove who you think you are, strip away distraction, and rebuild your life from first principles, silently, deliberately, and without permission. No applause, no validation, no shortcuts, only discipline, clarity, and controlled action. If you're ready to stop performing and start becoming, listen carefully. This is where everything resets. Chapter 1. Destroy the identity that's keeping you small. Identity feels solid. It feels protective. It feels necessary. That is why it is dangerous. Most people believe they are stuck because they lack resources, luck, or opportunity. That is not the constraint. The constraint is identity. Identity is the story you repeat to yourself about who you are and what you are allowed to do. It is not truth. It is a tool. And like any tool, when it outlives its usefulness, it must be discarded. You are not your past role. You are not your job title. You are not the version of yourself that failed, quit, or stayed comfortable too long. Those are records, not definitions. Yet most people protect those records as if they are sacred. They defend them. They explain them. They justify them. And in doing so, they remain small. You cannot rebuild while protecting the ruins. That's the key. If you want to rebuild your life from nothing, you must start by removing the structure that no longer serves you. Identity is that structure. Here is the rule. If a belief about who you are limits what you are willing to do today is false, eliminate it. You have a choice. You can act based on who you have been, or you can act based on what must be built next. Most choose the first. It feels safer. It feels familiar. Safety is not the objective. Progress is. Identity creates invisible boundaries. I'm not that type of person. I've always been like this. That's just how I am. Those phrases are not observations. They are restraints. Every time you repeat them, you reinforce a cage you built yourself. It's not about confidence. It's about permission. You're waiting for permission to change. From family, from friends, from your past. You don't need their permission. People who successfully reinvent themselves follow a pattern. They stop explaining. They don't announce a transformation. They don't defend their decision. They don't narrate their progress. They remove the old label and begin acting as if it never existed. That silence is not weakness. It is strategy. Explanation anchors you to the past. Action detaches you from it. Here is the system. Effective immediately. Stop describing yourself using past tense identities. No, I'm the kind of person who no. I've always struggled with no, that's just not me. Those phrases end now. Replace identity statements with behavior rules. Not, I am disciplined. Instead, I execute the plan regardless of mood. Not, I am bad at focus. Instead, I remove distractions at the start of every work block. Not, I failed before. Instead, I review, adjust, and execute again. Identity is abstract. Behavior is real. That's the key. You are not required to feel different before you act different. That belief keeps people stuck for years. Action comes first. Identity adjusts later. You have a choice. You can wait until you feel like a new person, or you can behave like one and let the feeling catch up. The second path works every time. Let's be precise. Destroying an identity does not mean forgetting your past. It means removing its authority over your future. Your past is data. Use it. Do not obey it. Failures become feedback. Success becomes reference, not pride. Nothing more. Another rule. If you feel the urge to explain your change to someone, pause. That urge is attachment. Attachment is resistance to growth. People who stay the same talk the most. People who change go quiet. They are too busy executing. You cannot rebuild while protecting the ruins. The ruins include old narratives, old excuses, and old self-concepts that once protected you from discomfort. They serve a purpose. That purpose is over. This is where discipline replaces identity. Discipline does not care who you think you are. It cares what you do repeatedly. That's why it works. This chapter is not asking you to believe in yourself. Belief is optional. Compliance is not. Here is your practical assignment. Write down every label you use to describe yourself that limits your behavior. Every I am that excuses inaction. Every story that keeps you small. Then cross them out. Not symbolically, literally. In their place, write one rule per label. A rule that dictates behavior, not identity. Follow the rule whether it feels natural or not. You are training a system, not expressing a personality. That's the shift. You are not becoming someone new. You are removing what was false. You don't need their permission. You don't need to announce the change. You don't need to feel ready. You need to act without reference to who you used to be. That's the foundation. In the next chapter, we remove the next obstacle that keeps people trapped in their old selves: comfort. Because once identity loosens its grip, comfort will try to take its place. Chapter 2. Comfort is the enemy you invited inside. Comfort rarely arrives as a threat. It arrives as relief. It tells you that you deserve rest before progress, that you have time, that nothing is urgent. That is how it disarms you. Comfort is not rest. Rest is deliberate and temporary. Comfort is unconscious and permanent. Once comfort becomes your default, urgency disappears. And without urgency, intention collapses into routine survival. You wake up, you react, you repeat. Days pass without direction. Weeks pass without progress. You remain busy and unchanged. That is the function of comfort. It keeps you occupied enough to feel productive, but restrained enough to avoid transformation. If it feels good and leads nowhere, it is costing you everything. That's the key. Modern comfort is engineered. It is not accidental. Endless scrolling, binge learning, constant stimulation disguised as self-improvement. You consume content. You collect insights. You feel informed. Nothing changes. That loop is not harmless. It trains your nervous system to associate movement with consumption instead of action. You feel like you are advancing because you are engaged. But engagement is not execution. It's not about knowledge. It's about discipline. Here is the rule. Any activity that provides dopamine without requiring effort must be treated as a liability. This includes learning with no application, planning with no deadlines, organizing with no outcome. Comfort hides inside these behaviors because they feel responsible. They are not. They are avoidance with better branding. You have a choice. You can use your time to reduce discomfort, or you can use your time to increase capacity. One maintains your current life. The other builds a new one. Comfort always argues for preservation. Discipline demands construction. Most people confuse exhaustion with effort. They are tired because they are overstimulated, not because they are building. Real effort is quiet. It is narrow. It is often boring. That is why comfort feels more attractive. Here is the system for removing comfort. First, identify your primary comfort loops. Not the obvious ones, the respectable ones. Ask yourself, what do I do that feels productive but produces no measurable result? Scrolling is obvious. Binge learning is not. If you're consuming more than you're executing, comfort has taken over. Second rule, you do not eliminate comfort entirely. You confine it. Comfort is scheduled, limited, earned, never used as a response to resistance. If you reward yourself for avoiding the work, you train avoidance. That's the key. Discomfort must come first. Relief comes after. Not because you are punishing yourself, but because you are retraining your nervous system. You are teaching it that progress precedes pleasure. Another rule: urgency is not created by pressure. It is created by removal. When options disappear, focus emerges. Remove background noise. Remove endless inputs. Remove the illusion of time. Operate as if today is the only day that matters. Because behavior does not respond to long-term abstractions. It responds to immediate constraints. You have a choice. You can design your environment to support comfort, or you can design it to enforce action. Do not rely on willpower. Willpower is fragile. Structure is reliable. If your phone is always within reach, comfort will win. If your schedule is open-ended, comfort will fill it. If your goals are vague, comfort will redefine them. You must be precise. Define one non-negotiable task per day. One action that directly moves your life forward. Not preparation, not learning, execution. Everything else is optional. This is how urgency returns. Comfort tells you to wait until you feel ready. Discipline tells you readiness is irrelevant. If it feels good and leads nowhere, it is costing you everything. Repeat that until it changes your behavior. You are not removing comfort to suffer. You are removing it to wake up. In the next chapter, we go further. Because once comfort is restricted, something else appears. Silence. And silence is where most people break or finally tell themselves the truth. Chapter 3. Silence is where the truth starts speaking. Silence is not empty. It is exposed. That is why most people avoid it. Noise is not accidental. It is defensive. It exists to prevent you from hearing what must change. Music, podcasts, notifications, conversations that go nowhere. They fill the gaps so you never have to sit alone with yourself. Silence removes that protection. And when it does, truth appears. Not all at once. Not gently, but clearly. Clarity does not come from answers. It comes from stillness. That's the key. Most people believe clarity is something you search for. They read, they ask, they consume. That is not how clarity works. Clarity emerges when noise is removed and nothing is left to distract you from reality. Silence forces confrontation with fear, with avoidance, with responsibility. That is why it feels uncomfortable. In silence, there is no one to blame, no narrative to hide behind, no stimulation to soften the truth. Only facts. What you've been avoiding becomes obvious. What you must do next becomes unavoidable. You have a choice. You can continue to fill every moment with noise, or you can allow silence to expose what requires discipline. One path maintains confusion. The other produces direction. Here is the rule. If you feel anxious when things get quiet, that anxiety is information. Do not escape it. Study it. That discomfort is not danger. It is signal. Noise numbs that signal. Silence amplifies it. That's why silence feels threatening to an undisciplined mind. Silence does not create problems. It reveals them. Most people say they don't know what to do with their life. That is rarely true. They know. They just don't want to admit it. Silence removes denial. It becomes obvious where effort is missing, where excuses have replaced action, where comfort has delayed responsibility. This is not about meditation for relaxation. Relaxation is not the objective. Awareness is. Silence is a tool. Used correctly, it sharpens perception and decision-making. Here is the system. First, schedule silence daily. Not as an option, as a rule. No audio, no input, no consumption, just stillness. Short at first. 10 minutes is enough, but it must be uninterrupted. Second rule, do not try to think positively in silence. That is avoidance disguised as optimism. Let the mind surface what it wants. Observe without negotiation. You are not there to feel better. You're there to see clearly. Clarity does not come from answers. It comes from stillness. Repeat that. In silence, patterns emerge. You notice recurring thoughts, recurring fears, recurring rationalizations. Those repetitions reveal what controls you. That's the key. What repeats has power. What you ignore continues. Another rule: when silence reveals an uncomfortable truth, do not analyze it immediately. Action comes later. First, acknowledge it. Label it. Write it down. Silence is for diagnosis, not debate. Most people fail here. They try to resolve everything mentally. That creates overwhelm. You are not required to fix your entire life in silence. You are required to identify the next point of resistance. 1. That is enough. Silence narrows your focus. Noise scatters it. That is why disciplined people protect silence aggressively. Not because they are calm, but because they are precise. You don't need their permission to go quiet. You don't need to explain why you are less available. Availability is a cost. Every interruption delays confrontation. Every distraction postpones responsibility. You have a choice. You can remain accessible, or you can become effective. Silence supports effectiveness. Let's address the fear directly. Many people are afraid that if they slow down, everything will fall apart. That is not true. What falls apart in silence was never stable to begin with. Silence does not destroy structure. It exposes weak structure. That is useful. Another rule: do not confuse isolation with silence. Isolation avoids people. Silence removes noise. You can be silent in a crowded room if you control your inputs. This is not about withdrawal from life. It is about removing interference. When interference disappears, priorities reorganize themselves. Urgency returns. Focus sharpens. Decision-making improves. Not because you tried harder, because you stopped drowning the signal. Clarity does not come from answers. It comes from stillness. Say it again. Silence also reveals something else. Your dependence on distraction. The impulse to check, to scroll, to fill space. That impulse is not random. It is conditioning. Every time you resist it, you regain control. This is how self-mastery begins. Not with confidence, with restraint. Silence trains restraint. It teaches you that you do not have to respond to every urge. You do not have to act on every thought. That skill transfers into work, into relationships, into discipline. If you can sit with yourself without escape, you can do difficult work without avoidance. That's the progression. This chapter is not about becoming quiet for its own sake. It is about creating the conditions where truth cannot hide. Noise delays change. Silence demands it. You have a choice. Fill your life with sound and remain unclear, or remove it and face what must be done. No one else can do this for you. No book can substitute it. No advice can replace it. Silence is where the work begins. In the next chapter, we address what happens once clarity appears. Because once you see what must be done, a new obstacle emerges. The need for validation. And that need will destroy everything if you let it. Chapter 4. Stop seeking validation. Start building proof. Validation feels harmless. Encouraging, even. That is why it works against you. External approval shifts authority away from you and places it in the hands of others. Once that happens, action slows down. You hesitate. You explain. You wait for agreement. Progress does not survive that process. Results speak. Explanations beg. That's the key. Most people do not lack ability. They lack internal authority. They want reassurance before commitment. They want support before risk. They want acknowledgement before evidence. That sequence is backward. Internal authority is built through action taken without consensus. When you need validation, you are asking someone else to co-sign your effort. That creates delay. Delay creates doubt. Doubt kills momentum. You have a choice. Act and risk disapproval, or seek approval and guarantee stagnation. Validation is a transaction. You trade autonomy for comfort. It feels good. It costs you time. Here is the rule. If you feel the urge to explain your plans, stop. That urge signals insecurity. Secure people do not announce direction. They execute it. Successful people follow a pattern. They build privately. They do not narrate early progress. They do not defend unfinished work. They allow evidence to accumulate quietly. Then they let results do the talking. This is not secrecy. It is efficiency. Every explanation leaks energy. Every justification weakens resolve. You're training yourself to seek permission instead of taking responsibility. That's the key. Another rule. Do not confuse accountability with validation. Accountability is structured and specific. Validation is emotional and vague. Accountability asks, "Did you do the work?" Validation asks, "Do you believe in me?" One strengthens discipline. The other replaces it. Choose carefully. Social environments are designed to reward expression, not execution. Likes, comments, reactions. They provide immediate feedback without requiring outcome. That feedback is addictive. You feel seen. You feel supported. Nothing changes. If you want to rebuild your life, you must interrupt that loop. Here is the system. Before sharing anything, ask one question. Does this increase execution? If the answer is no, remain silent. Plans do not need witnesses. Progress does not need applause. Only results matter. Results speak. Explanations beg. Repeat that until it governs your behavior. Internal authority grows when you keep commitments to yourself, not when others praise your intentions. Start small. Make promises you can keep. Keep them quietly. Every kept promise compounds. Every broken one erodes trust with yourself. That internal trust is more valuable than any external validation. You don't need their permission to act. You don't need approval to begin. You're responsible either way. Another rule. Do not argue with skeptics. Argument is another form of explanation. Skeptics are not obstacles. They are irrelevant. Energy spent convincing is energy not spent building. Let evidence handle the conversation later. Silence is not weakness here. It is leverage. While others talk, you work. While others doubt, you accumulate proof. That asymmetry is powerful. Most people never experience it because they cannot tolerate being misunderstood temporarily. You must learn to. Being misunderstood is a small price for autonomy. If you cannot tolerate that, you will remain dependent. That's the key. Validation also delays feedback. When you talk too early, you replace real-world consequences with opinions. Opinions feel informative. They are not. Only results tell the truth. Results expose what works and what doesn't. Explanations hide those signals. If you want clarity, produce outcomes. If you want confidence, stack evidence. Confidence does not come from belief. It comes from proof. Here is a final rule for this chapter. For the next phase of your rebuild, operate under one constraint. No announcements. No justifications. No early sharing. Only action. Track your work privately. Measure it honestly. Adjust without commentary. When someone asks what you're doing, keep it simple. I'm working. That is enough. Results speak. Explanations beg. Say it again. In the next chapter, we move from silence and proof to the mechanism that sustains both. Focus. Because without trained focus, even the right actions scatter and collapse. Chapter 5. Focus is a muscle, not a personality trait. Most people believe focus is something you either have or you don't. A personality trait, a talent. That belief excuses failure. Focus is not a trait. It is a trained response to constraint. What you starve loses power. What you feed takes over. That's the key. If focus were natural, distraction would not dominate modern life. Distraction wins because it is constantly fed. Notifications, options, open loops, unfinished decisions. Each one competes for attention. Attention fragments. Execution slows. The result looks like laziness. It is not. It is untrained focus. You do not become focused by wanting it. You become focused by removing alternatives. Restriction creates concentration. Inspiration does not. Here is the rule. If you give your mind too many options, it will choose the easiest one. That is not weakness. That is efficiency. Your job is not to fight that tendency. Your job is to design around it. You have a choice. You can rely on willpower and lose daily, or you can reduce options and win by default. Focus improves when decisions disappear. That is why disciplined people simplify aggressively. Same wake time, same work block, same starting task, not because they lack creativity, because creativity requires uninterrupted attention. Here is the system. First, narrow your daily objective. Not a list. One primary outcome. If everything is important, nothing is. Choose the action that moves your life forward the most today. Everything else is secondary. Second rule. Define the start point. Most people procrastinate because they don't know where to begin. Vagueness kills momentum. Work on the project is vague. Open the document and write the first paragraph is precise. Focus attaches to clarity. Third rule. Remove competing inputs before you begin. Phone out of reach. Browser tabs closed. Environment stripped to essentials. Do this before resistance appears. Once resistance is active, it is already harder. What you starve loses power. What you feed takes over. Feed the task. Starve the distractions. Focus is strengthened through repetition. Short, controlled sessions repeated daily outperform long, emotional efforts. Do not chase intensity. Chase consistency. Consistency trains the nervous system to settle into work faster each time. That's the key. Another rule. Do not multitask. Multitasking is not efficiency. It is context switching. Each switch drains attention. Each drain reduces depth. Depth produces value. Shallow effort produces noise. Train depth. Work on one thing until a stopping point is reached. Then stop. This teaches your brain that focus has boundaries. Boundaries reduce resistance. Endless work creates avoidance. Contained work invites engagement. You have a choice. You can work endlessly and burn out, or you can work deliberately and build capacity. Focus also requires recovery. But recovery is not stimulation. Scrolling is not recovery. Binge consumption is not rest. They keep your attention fragmented. Real recovery is low input. Walking, stillness, silence. These restore attention. That's the cycle. Focus, rest, repeat. Break the cycle with constant stimulation and focus degrades. Another rule. Measure focus by output, not time. Time spent is meaningless if nothing is produced. Ask yourself at the end of each session, what exists now that did not exist before? If the answer is unclear, focus was lost. This is not judgment. It is feedback. Adjust the system. Reduce inputs further. Shorten the session. Clarify the task. Do not negotiate with distraction. Design it out. You don't need their permission to protect your focus. You don't need to be available. Availability is a decision. Every yes to interruption is a no to progress. Say no silently. Another principle. Focus weakens when goals are abstract. Improve my life. Get better. Work on myself. These mean nothing to the nervous system. Concrete tasks create traction. Define actions that can be completed, not identities to be achieved. Focus attaches to action. What you feed takes over. If you feed vague ambition, distraction grows. If you feed precise execution, focus strengthens. Repeat this daily. Over time, focus becomes automatic. Not because you changed who you are, because you changed the conditions. That's how muscles are built. Under load, with rest, through repetition. Focus follows the same law. Do not wait to feel focused. Begin under imperfect conditions. Focus sharpens after you start. Waiting is another form of avoidance. You have a choice. Start distracted and train focus. Or wait for focus and never begin. One path builds capacity. The other preserves comfort. What you starve loses power. What you feed takes over. Say it again. This chapter is about control. Not over thoughts, but over environment and structure. Control those, and focus follows. In the next chapter, we remove the final illusion that keeps people chasing motivation instead of results. Because focus alone is not enough. It must be sustained by systems. And systems replace motivation every time. Chapter 6. Systems replace motivation every time. Motivation is inconsistent. That is not a flaw. It is its nature. It rises and falls with mood, sleep, weather, a circumstance. Building a life on it is reckless. You do not rise to motivation. You fall to your systems. That's the key. People who wait to feel motivated surrender control to emotion. Emotion does not care about long-term outcomes. Systems do. A system is a pre-decided sequence of actions. It removes choice at the moment of execution. That is why it works. Motivation asks, do I feel like it? Systems say, this is what happens next. You have a choice. You can negotiate with yourself every day, or you can eliminate negotiation entirely. Negotiation drains energy. Systems conserve it. Here is the rule. If a behavior is important, it must be automatic. Automatic behaviors are not powered by desire. They are powered by structure. Examples are simple. A fixed wake time, a defined work block, a non-negotiable daily action. No decision, no debate. When the time arrives, the action executes. That's the mechanism. Most people resist systems because they believe structure limits freedom. That belief is backward. Structure creates freedom by removing chaos. Chaos forces constant decision-making. Decision-making exhausts discipline. Discipline fades. Systems remain. Another rule. If a task requires motivation, the system is incomplete. Your job is to redesign until execution does not depend on mood. Start small. Choose one daily action that directly supports your rebuild. Make it non-negotiable, not intense, reliable. Intensity fluctuates. Reliability compounds. That's the key. Time blocking is not about filling your schedule. It is about protecting priorities. When time is not assigned, it is consumed. Distraction does not ask permission. Assign work to specific hours. Not sometime today. A defined window. When the window opens, work begins. Not because you feel ready. Because the system says so. You have a choice. Trust emotion or trust design. One fails repeatedly. The other improves with use. Another principle. Systems should be boring. If a system requires excitement, it will collapse. Boring systems run even when life is difficult. That is their strength. Track compliance, not feelings. Did you execute the action? Yes or no? No stories. No explanations. Results speak. Explanations beg. Systems also reveal reality. If you cannot comply with a simple system, the system is too complex or the priority is false. Adjust. Reduce scope. Shorten duration. Remove friction. Do not abandon the system. Refine it. You do not need their permission to live by rules you designed. You do not need approval to be consistent. Consistency is private. Most people overestimate what they can do in a motivated burst and underestimate what systems can do over time. That miscalculation keeps them stuck. Small actions executed daily outperform ambitious plans executed rarely. Another rule: design systems around your lowest energy state. Do not plan for your best days. Plan for your worst. If the system works when you are tired, it will work always. This is discipline, not intensity, not willpower. Design. You are not trying to become a motivated person. You are trying to become a reliable one. Reliability builds trust. Trust builds momentum. Momentum reduces resistance. That is the chain. You do not rise to motivation. You fall to your systems. Say it again. Every day you are falling. The only question is where. Into distraction or into execution. Systems decide that. In the next chapter, we address a subtle threat that undermines systems more than failure. Visibility. Because once systems are in place, the urge to be seen can dismantle everything if left unchecked. That is why the next chapter is about working in silence or staying weak. Chapter 7. Work in silence or stay weak. Most people misunderstand progress. They believe being seen equals achievement. They broadcast intentions, announce plans, and seek applause before execution. That is weakness disguised as confidence. The loudest phase is preparation. The quiet phase is power. That's the key. Broadcasting goals provides immediate emotional release. It feels productive. It feels motivating. It is neither. It reduces the energy available for action. It substitutes performance for results. When you tell others what you plan to do, your nervous system registers completion. The body and mind receive dopamine without effort. You feel satisfied, but nothing has changed. Silent progress builds self-respect. Silent progress builds resilience. Silent progress builds unshakable internal authority. You have a choice. You can announce and receive applause before action, or you can act privately and let results speak. Every person who reinvents themselves follows this rule. They do not explain. They do not seek validation. They execute quietly. Here is the system. First, identify any task that will provide visibility before completion. Delay any announcement. Delay sharing. Delay explanation. Second, measure success by output, not reactions. Did the work produce evidence? Yes or no? Nothing else matters. Third, cultivate a private accountability mechanism. Track progress internally. Report only to yourself. External feedback is optional. It is irrelevant during the build phase. The loudest phase is preparation. The quiet phase is power. Repeat that. Embed it into every decision. Public praise before completion is an addiction. Silence is your resistance. Working quietly develops resilience. When recognition is absent, you continue. When frustration appears, you continue. When obstacles arise, you continue. Weak people quit when the audience disappears. Strong people continue regardless. Another rule: do not confuse secrecy with secrecy for fear. The silence is strategic. It protects energy and concentrates effort. Do not multitask with audiences. Do not split attention between doing and explaining. Do not seek validation while building systems. Results speak. Explanations beg. Silent progress creates cumulative advantage. No applause is required. No acknowledgement needed. Every quiet action compounds into visible power later. By the time others notice, it is irreversible. You have a choice. Choose noise and temporary satisfaction, or choose silence and durable strength. Another principle: every time you broadcast prematurely, you leak focus. Focus is power. Power is preserved in silence. This is not a matter of ego. It is a matter of leverage. Your attention is the resource. Do not waste it on performance. The loudest phase is preparation. The quiet phase is power. Embed it. Practice it. Enforce it. The system works. Discipline strengthens. Authority consolidates. In the next chapter, we refine execution by narrowing effort. Because scattered action, even in silence, produces mediocre results. You must choose your battles carefully and win them consistently. Chapter 8. Choose fewer battles and win them daily. Most people misunderstand productivity. They confuse activity with progress. They scatter effort across too many objectives. That is failure waiting to happen. Consistency beats intensity when intensity can't last. That's the key. Scattered effort creates constant failure loops. You start multiple projects. You monitor countless goals. You spread your energy too thin. The result is stress. The result is mediocrity. The result is a life that feels busy but achieves little. You have a choice. You can chase many victories and win none. Or you can select one meaningful battle and win it every day. One controlled win per day compounds faster than chaotic ambition. That is the law. Here is the system. First, identify your highest leverage task for the day. Not the urgent, not the comfortable, the task that moves the needle most. Second, eliminate competing objectives. No simultaneous priorities. No multitasking. No exceptions. Third, define the victory clearly. Completion is measurable. Progress is tangible. Ambiguity is eliminated. Each completed task reinforces discipline. Each avoided distraction strengthens focus. Each measurable win builds momentum. Consistency beats intensity when intensity can't last. Repeat it. Embed it. Most people rely on bursts of effort. Motivated days. Energy spikes. Those bursts are unreliable. They collapse under real-world pressure. Consistent wins do not require emotion. They do not require inspiration. They require structure. Your structure is simple. Choose one battle. Win it. Record it. Repeat. Small victories compound. Big ambitions crumble when execution is scattered. Another rule. Do not cheat your one win. Do not defer it. Do not reduce its scope to avoid discomfort. That is the trap. If a task is important enough to be your daily focus, it is worth the discomfort. You do not negotiate. You do not wait. You act. You have a choice. You can fragment effort and fail repeatedly, or you can concentrate and succeed daily. Consistency beats intensity when intensity can't last. Say it again. Embed it. Over time, these daily victories accumulate into unstoppable momentum. That momentum cannot be purchased. It cannot be borrowed. It can only be built through disciplined, repeated, focused action. Another principle. Your victories do not need validation. You do not announce them. You do not justify them. You execute and record silently. That is how internal authority grows. That is how systems strengthen. That is how self-mastery compounds. Every day, the choice is the same. Scatter or concentrate. Fail or win. Choose deliberately. Win consistently. In the next chapter, we confront the inevitable resistance. Because progress always brings discomfort, and avoiding it is the true enemy of growth. Pain is not the problem. Avoidance is. Chapter 9. Pain is not the problem. Avoidance is. Pain is natural. Resistance is expected. Discomfort is part of building something meaningful. That is not optional. Most people act as if pain is the enemy. They avoid it. They delay it. They rationalize it. That is the true problem. Avoidance transforms inevitable discomfort into prolonged suffering. Do the hard thing early, and the day obeys you. That's the key. Growth always includes discomfort. You cannot bypass it. You cannot negotiate with it. Your task is not to eliminate pain. Your task is to confront it, move through it, and emerge on the other side. Here is the system. First, identify the task you have been avoiding. Not trivial work, the critical action that matters most to your rebuild. Second, execute it at the start of your day, before comfort has a chance to interfere, before excuses appear. Third, remove escape routes. Do not allow postponement. Do not rationalize delay. Do not seek shortcuts. Discipline is built in the small, repetitive decisions to act when resistance is high. Resistance tests you. Compliance strengthens you. Most people wait for energy, motivation, or clarity. All three are unreliable. Action is reliable. Do the hard thing early and the day obeys you. Repeat it. Embed it. Another rule: do not confuse discomfort with danger. Discomfort signals growth. Danger signals threat. Recognize the difference. Act accordingly. Avoidance is seductive. It whispers, "Not now." It can wait. You deserve rest. All lies, all excuses, all permission to remain small. Every avoided action compounds. Every postponed decision strengthens inertia. Every rationalization builds weakness. Discipline rewires that pattern. It teaches you to act despite feeling resistance. It turns discomfort into leverage. Here is the principle. Immediate execution beats delayed perfection. Speed combined with precision trains confidence. Repeated small victories over resistance produce unstoppable momentum. Another rule: do not overthink difficulty. Complexity is often imagined. Perceived pain is usually smaller than avoidance predicts. Act first. Evaluate later. Refine continuously. Every morning, do the task that challenges you most. Do not postpone it. Do not seek validation. Do not explain yourself. Do the hard thing early and the day obeys you. Embed it into habit. Make it automatic. Pain is unavoidable. Avoidance is optional. Discipline is a muscle. Resistance is the weight. Each time you lift it without complaint, you grow stronger. Do not negotiate with avoidance. It will always win if you allow it. Another system: schedule one high-resistance task daily. Protect that time. Execute fully. No excuses. By repeating this, you train both mind and body to respond to difficulty with action. You reduce hesitation. You strengthen internal authority. You build momentum. Discomfort becomes familiar. Fear becomes manageable. Action becomes automatic. Avoidance is the enemy. Pain is neutral. Discipline is the weapon. In the next chapter, we combine all previous lessons. We consolidate self-mastery into a state of readiness, precision, and control. Because mastery is not about avoiding hardship. It is about becoming dangerous through self-discipline. Chapter 10: Become dangerous through self-mastery. Mastery is not a reward. It is a responsibility. It is earned daily through disciplined action. Self-mastery is the ability to control yourself. Emotionally, physically, mentally. Control yourself, and nothing outside can control you. That's the key. Most people are reactive. They respond to stimuli. They surrender their energy to circumstance, opinion, and mood. Dangerous people are different. They execute quietly. They execute consistently. They do not seek attention. They do not negotiate with distraction. Self-mastery requires 3 foundations. First, emotional control. Do not allow feelings to dictate action. Frustration, fear, or doubt are signals, not rulers. Respond deliberately. Do not react unconsciously. Second, delayed gratification. Immediate comfort is the enemy. Sacrifice small pleasures for larger gains. Build habits that accumulate over time. Delay the reward. Accelerate results. Third, precision action. Execute tasks with clarity. Measure impact. Eliminate redundancy. Every movement must have purpose. The combination of these three creates power. Not the power to threaten. Not the power to dominate socially. The power to act deliberately under any circumstance. You have a choice. React to life or design it. Control yourself, and nothing outside can control you. Dangerous people leverage systems, silence, focus, and daily wins. They act in alignment with principle, not opinion. They move while others talk. They persist while others hesitate. Another rule: protect your energy. Do not let noise, approval, or distraction dilute your attention. Every compromise erodes power. Mastery is cumulative. Small, consistent actions compound into unshakable authority. One disciplined day builds the next. One controlled reaction strengthens the next. Self-mastery is not optional. It is necessary for those who wish to rebuild from nothing. Without it, progress collapses. With it, even chaos becomes manageable. Control yourself, and nothing outside can control you. Say it, repeat it, internalize it. This is the system for final execution. Review your rules daily. Execute your highest priority actions without hesitation. Reflect quietly, without explanation or external validation. Adjust, refine, repeat. Every day is a test of discipline. Every decision is an opportunity to reinforce authority over self. The dangerous individual is not loud. They are precise. They are relentless. They are unshakable. That is your final lesson. Control yourself, and nothing outside can control you. Embed it. Live it. Execute it. If you have followed this audiobook to this point, you now hold the framework for radical transformation. Apply it consistently. Do not negotiate. Do not pause. And if you want to continue building your discipline, focus, and systems, subscribe now. Because this is just the beginning of your silent, unstoppable rebuild.